Mohammed bin Sulayem is facing unprecedented pressure, and now it seems that the president of the International Automobile Federation is trying to rebuild his image to become more popular in the sport. After imposing strict penalties on drivers for using profanity on the starting grid, it became clear that this approach needed urgent revision. There are signs that bin Sulayem has decided to adopt a softer stance. But the big question is whether this change comes too late. And if that is the case, how will the drivers react to this new attitude that the president is trying to implement, seeking acceptance that seems increasingly distant? The situation surrounding bin Sulayem is full of controversies, but none as impactful as the issue of profanity. The president caused so much distrust that even staff members inside the federation began questioning whether the institution was still following the right path, aligned with its historical principle. This growing distrust led important figures to leave the organization, believing it had lost its original essence. Among these names are Robert Reid, who served as vice president, and David Richards, president of Motorsport UK. Robert Reid, for instance, pointed out that the International Automobile Federation had changed negatively under bin Sulayem's leadership, especially because new rules were being imposed without consulting Congress members, breaking a long tradition of participatory governance. It is important to remember that the International Automobile Federation does not govern only Formula One. It also oversees categories like the World Rally Championship, Formula E, and the World Endurance Championship. Therefore, the rules and penalties imposed by bin Sulayem affect all these competitions, not just Formula One. One significant point is that the base fine created by bin Sulayem would be multiplied by 4 when applied to a Formula One driver, making the sanctions even heavier compared to other categories. The driver's argument on this topic is very straightforward. When racing at speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, profanity becomes instinctive and is far from being a priority for someone facing such extreme situations inside a race car. Even after the new rules against inappropriate language were approved, it was common to hear swear words over the team radios, showing that the drivers did not passively accept this rule and tried to demonstrate to bin Sulayem that leading the federation in an authoritarian manner is not the way to earn genuine respect. Now that bin Sulayem shows signs of softening his policies, we might witness a reshaping of the environment involving drivers, officials, and the federation itself. At the moment, the main focus of controversy is Appendix B of the International Sporting Code, which includes sanctions for drivers who use inappropriate language. Curiously, this controversy intensified after a tense encounter between bin Sulayem and Max Verstappen during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, right after the end of the race and in front of several television cameras. According to Max Verstappen, the incident was not directly related to a warning for him not to criticize the federation, nor to the penalty he received at the first corner of the race. However, the statements made by Max after the event revealed much about his current perception of the institution, and, more importantly, why he is now extremely cautious when addressing sensitive matters. Max said, "The start happened, the first corner passed, and suddenly it was already lap 50. Everything happened very quickly. The problem is that I cannot express my opinion because I could be punished too, so I prefer not to say anything. The best decision is to remain silent. Anything I say could cause problem. We live in a world where you cannot tell the truth without consequences. Honestly, it is better if I stay quiet. Nowadays, everything is taken extremely sensitively, and in our current environment, criticism is seen negatively. Therefore, the less I say, the better." Max Verstappen is not alone in criticizing bin Sulayem's leadership. The Grand Prix Drivers Association, known as GPDA, has also taken a critical stance. George Russell, president of the GPDA, was the most recent to comment on the lack of clarity and transparency in decisions involving the Federation and Formula One. He said, "Unfortunately, every time we hear news coming from the Federation, we already expect something negative. It is sad to see someone who should be a reference figure getting involved in so many problems. We keep wondering what the next controversy will be. It is truly regrettable, and we hope to achieve more stability soon because that is crucial for everyone's sake." The drivers place complete trust and confidence in Stefano Domenicali and in Formula One itself, knowing that there is a genuine effort toward collaboration between the teams and the organization. The priority for everyone is to build a harmonious and stable environment for the future of the sport. We want dialogue because pointless conflicts only undermine everything that has been carefully built over time. Previously, influential figures had already criticized how Ben Sulayem tried to run the federation as if it were his personal domain. One such figure was Tim Mayer, a former race steward who was among the first to raise doubts about the fairness of the penalties related to profanity. According to Mayer, Ben Sulayem tried to implement this policy without consulting others and was willing to sideline anyone who openly disagreed. Mayer also stated, Ben Sulayem believed that drivers should be penalized for improper language. Since then, his efforts to enforce that vision have been notable. Although the rule exists in the regulations, the decision to pursue it with such rigor is questionable. In the coming months, a highly important meeting will define Ben Sulayem's future as president of the federation. He will need to convince the council that he still deserves the position, especially after numerous mistakes and recent conflicts. It is important to highlight that the drivers, through the GPDA, will also have voting rights. Given the widespread dissatisfaction with his leadership, the likelihood of Ben Sulayem securing a majority appears quite slim. There are still other episodes that illustrate Ben Sulayem's controversial management. One of them was his intervention in a proposal made by a Saudi fund to Liberty Media, the company that owns the commercial rights to Formula One. Ben Sulayem claimed that Liberty Media was overvaluing Formula One, which caused discomfort among investors and harmed the sport's credibility in the financial market. Beyond the profanity ban, another controversial regulation was the restriction on drivers wearing jewelry. This measure, seen as an affront to individual freedom, gained even more attention when Lewis Hamilton was forced to remove almost all his jewelry before the Monaco Grand Prix in the year 2022, further damaging Ben Sulayem's image among fans and the specialized press. The GPDA demanded that drivers be treated as adults and called for greater transparency in the federation's decision. However, Ben Sulayem responded bluntly, "That is none of their business. With all due respect, I am a driver. I respect drivers, but they should focus on what they do best, which is racing. We will take care of the federation's internal matters, and that must be respected." According to the president, what really matters are the results produced and not the opinions of those involved. However, the tension with Verstappen was not an isolated incident. At the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Ben Sulayem personally handed out the medals to the top 3 finishers, something highly unusual for a federation president, who should focus solely on administrative and regulatory duties without directly involving himself with drivers. Throughout Ben Sulayem's leadership, we have witnessed a series of decisions that have raised deep questions. The pressing question now is whether we are witnessing the most controversial president in the history of the International Automobile Federation. And even more importantly, will he still hold his position by the end of this year? Share your opinion in the comments, and once you do not forget to check out the video that is now appearing on your screen.